to this. As usual, I'm just going to talk about what I want to see, and then we'll kind of go over. I don't think there's really much. I'll just go over what I want to see and kind of what it looks like, what the market kind of look like, and um, how we might want to respond to Bitcoin in that sense, or what I think is best. So let's kind of go over that. It's going to be a little bit weird. Still going to be the kind of same three spots. Obviously, not up here. We can get rid of this right now. So the same thing as always looking at Apple. We started all the way under. Well, actually, we started all the way down here. And when I go through in the market, it's going to make a little more sense. So we started all the way down here. It makes sense that we try to push up. Pushed up way too far, so we got our extension here. We did end above this, and we still ended anywhere down here is somewhat reasonable. I do think if we ended here, we probably would have just been pushing down, and it would have looked worse than it did today. So I think it was much better that it did start the next 4 hour, or it ended and started the next 4 hour down here. So that gave us a chance to come back up, and we can see with the extension, boom. So in my opinion, we are kind of locked out of this area if the market just opens at some of these places. So let's just kind of go over, like I said, like I want to see. I think a day starting here is pretty strong. I think this is pretty unlikely, but I just want to bring it out. I think a day being able to start up here is actually pretty strong. So we'll have to see what happens, but I think this is really nice because essentially we're on the top side of here with a nice 4 hour start above, and it's just nice kind of as a reversal as we're under here. And it'll just be nice, more or less. And there's a chance that we come back down, but starting above here looks pretty strong. Even if we hit here, it should be able to trend back up. Now, this looks really, really, really unlikely, so I don't think this is going to be something that happens. I think it's going to be much more likely that we start somewhere down here. And so to that effect, I think if we can start in this area, this also is really nice because for that same reason, we are above the main area that we want to be, which is above this 4 hour hole right here, which has a lot of significance as we've gone over in the other videos. So this could be pretty decent just for the day. I don't really see a lot of value necessarily if it's starting the 4 hour here, but we could see a little bit of move up. But I think it's much more important for bullishness that it starts above here. Now, if we start under, so as opposed to starting around this area slightly above, if we start somewhere under here, I think this is also pretty bad. We're going to have a little bit of a gap anyway between the days. This will start here. If it wants to fill the gap, it has a pretty high chance of pushing down from that perspective. So I could see it trying to push that way. Also, we're just at the 4 hour in general, and we'll be able to get a better look at kind of what this area shows in a second. So this is pretty bearish for me. If we do start somewhere around here, I think this is a little bit more bullish in a sense, as we could try to come back up to test, but I could see something up here coming here, hitting here, and then actually pushing down. Much more than what I thought we would see today. One of the biggest things kind of for today, and you can always check the stream, wasn't surprised that we shot up in the beginning because we started so far down. We keep starting so far away from our target. It makes sense that, we're going to have some overselling. So there's just more space between this and the target, and more space for things to kind of move around. So let's just go to Bitcoin real quick, and we'll look at that. Oh, also, I guess in Apple, let's kind of show it in this manner. And so I do think if we kind of start around where it is, more or less a little bit under, so pretty much under 150.73, but more specifically under 150.53. I do think we will most likely. We do have a pretty decent chance of trending down or coming back up, hitting this. We'll kind of high, lower high, lower high around this area. Looks pretty nice. We could trend all the way back up here, but it's just going to look inherently a lot weaker unless we can get some sort of 4 hour to start over here next. So there is really that chance, since we are still struggling here and there isn't really so much of a reversal for what it is. Like, we haven't started up here. So I did think if we ended the day up here and then we started under here, this would be pretty easy. And I think there's a very high chance we just shoot down, but they did push it down at the end of the day. So let's kind of look at the 2 hour, and we can kind of look at this 4 hour a little bit better and get a better idea of kind of what happened. And then I'll come back to this in a sense. We'll kind of go over the beginning. But I just want to show this where we push all the way up. We can see what's up here, but we'll look at this in a second. But we push over, boom, push up. We try, we can't get above, same thing, and it pushes down towards the end of the day. This 4 hour was definitely a pretty key thing. You really can't see it play out much when you look at the 4 hour, but when you look at the 2 hour, you can definitely see with some of these endings. So let's just kind of go to the start. We got pushed down way too far in the morning. I don't remember the morning is. September 6th. Okay, so we pretty much got pushed down way too far over here. So we push up on the 1 minute or on the 5 minute. We can see like the hole here. We push up. It just makes sense because we're trying to push for this 150, 180 anyway. So it kind of gives and goes and just goes. We can see a little bit of ugliness. I think it was a decent idea to get in the start, just really even just for this area. I'm going to be honest, I don't really like this push up here. So I think this was fine just to take this position. As I was saying on stream, if this was something that I messed with in the morning, I 100% wouldn't have been in for here, even without seeing this stuff over here, just because like what are we doing here? Like ignoring all these other lines or whatnot, just looking at from a 5 minute perspective, we can see that we pretty much squeeze our way into here, squeeze our way into here. What are we doing here? And we just push up. So if we take a little bit more look at this, we'll see it. We might add like a 30 minute or 1 hour, I think, on some of these. I don't want to go too much into it. I'll do what I remember. So we do have the 1 hour. So this was a little bit cheeky with what they're doing. And I think this was still fine if they wanted to push up, but there's only so much room left. It looks really sketchy. They've already pushed so far up. And another key thing to note that was a little bit worrisome about this is so when we look at last Monday in the same kind of push up, we can see we almost end in the same place. We have extra selling in pre-market, maybe post, but extra selling in pre-market. We stop all the way down here. We want to come back up to this 4 hour again. But let's look at this. To get to this same place up here, it took 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 and some change hours to get to the same peak or the same height that we did on today. So there's a lot more strength on this pushing up just because of that. This did it in 1 hour, which is it's actually just pretty wild for what it did. So it really needed to hold this. I mean, this is kind of what it is, but it just needs to hold this area. So anyway, from there we kind of trend back down. Let me see, and I think we trend back down to there's like 15 here or something. I don't really remember. We mess with the 15s. Really ugly stuff here. We come under. I don't know what this buying was. This was like if you go to the stream, you'll see me say again and again, like what like this makes sense, but what is this? I think another reason for this is a little bit under. We had the 30 somewhere around here at this point. Yeah, so like we're doing this and we have like the 30 minute here. So I didn't really understand what the whole kind of point of this was. So it kind of is what it is. And so we drop down ugly stuff. We come into the 30 minute. Let me do this. And then so I actually thought we had a decent chance of push down here, but no, we we shifted. We did end under, but it's where we start. We shifted above and it just quickly pushed up. Got a lot of support very quickly. It's just is what it is. So we see push over, we push up here, boom. And then there's some weird stuff at the end of the day. I'm not going to try to explain this because I don't really know what it was. I do think it's better that it didn't end up here. So I think from that perspective, it's nice. But it didn't need to sell down this far, so it got pushed up pretty far. From a bullish perspective, I think it's good that it got sold down, but it definitely didn't need to get sold down here, and this just definitely really makes it look a lot uglier than it possibly could have been. Because if we could have ended a little bit closer, somewhere around up here, that looks like a really decent chance for the next 4 hour to get a start up here and a nice kind of trend continuation to push us up. So because of that really ugly end near the end of the day, I think that's going to really pose a big problem. So let's just kind of check over to Bitcoin and this 4 hour, the 2 hour, the 1 hour, whichever you want to look at it. We'll do the 2 hour. Well, it's 6 now. But if we look at the change, we can kind of see on the 2 hour, it's still stuck in here. That's fine. Where we left off is we did get a nice switch over here. We did get this nice bounce. It was set up in a nice place. We talked about this yesterday. I expected at least a hold and opens and possibly the market may open up, and I think it looked in a decent place to receive some bullishness from the market, which it does seem like it did. I believe anyway. I think it might have just done most of the work before this even happened in the middle of the night, it looks like. Well, shortly after the day switch, so we can see this is where the day actually started. So we did hit a little bit under. This was the day before. So this line was actually up here the day before. So we hit here, just pushed up. So it kind of is what it is. It doesn't look horrible right now, but what I really want to show here is this last 4 hour that we have right here. So 16 is when the market ends. So this switched over right at the market end. We're kind of pushing down where it is right now. So what I expect is it might not push down until tomorrow. I do still kind of expect it to push down, but it might not. So the market could open up and it could open in a positive place. There is still a chance, even though it looks less and less likely. So some of the things I would be looking for is this is going to be down another 115. So this is going to be down to 18,500 and 90. 18,590 is where the next day time frame is going to be. So let me just make sure real quick, and I can do this. I think I moved it on this. No, I guess I didn't do it. Anyway, it's supposed to be essentially down right down here for the next day. So this kind of brings another target that we could push down to, and I think the more determining factor whether this will come down to here or not is we can just kind of see from the trend line that we've been riding more or less here. So I would be a little bit careful because I do think where it is right now in the bearishness of the market, Bitcoin will want to come back down here. Now this won't really be a thing until the new day. So I don't necessarily think there's going to be that huge draw to this area until the next day starts. So what I'd be concerned for and looking for in a sense is anything that kind of starts under. So a lot of that is really starting around this 19,090 area. We can see on the 2, we can see on the 4 hour as well, around 19. Like if we switch over here, that'll make us start under this. And I would expect us from then to push down. This was a really beautiful tap here on the 4 hour. Coming above and a really nice tap there to push it back up. So I don't, just in general, even on the 4 hour, I don't like to see stuff come back down from something that looks really nice. So I think the more determining factor would be it breaking under. I expected to break through this and then pretty much just head all the way back down here, and we'll kind of see what happens. It's possible before the day changes, it pushes all the way down here to try to start under it. I think that's a lot less likely. We'll just have to see what happens. Like I said, I think it's a lot less likely that it does that. So I don't really count on it doing that. Now, it definitely could do that, but I don't really count on it. And like I said, there's no hull down here, so I until there's that next hull on the new day, I don't think there's a huge amount of pressure for it to either do something or come under. So I think around 8, and if it does end under here on the next 2 or 4 hour, which will be the new day time frame or like 12 UTC, then I do expect it to try to just come down and touch here, which will look pretty ugly for a decent amount of this. So, but that's kind of for that anyway. Um, I think that's kind of it. I guess I can just go over. I don't know if there's really much else to go over. The VIX is just kind of up here. We came down to the base, pushed up. I don't want. I'm interested. I guess see what happened at the end of the day. I don't really see anything specific. On the 5 minute, it looks a little sketch. Ooh, 1540. Wow. So 340. Okay. Interesting. Maybe this had a little bit to do with, well, I don't know. This could have probably just been, it's kind of derivative in a sense, right? So I don't really want to look into too much. It's like, I don't want to look into it too much. We're already like all the way up here. So the VIX hasn't had any of its strongholds anymore. So I don't really want to use it as a determinant for what direction we might take. I like just sticking to Apple in that sense. I guess from here, if we want to look at the NASDAQ, one thing that we did do is we did come up and pretty much gapped back to the what we filled this gap. Well, maybe not all the way up here, but we at least came back to this area, which was fairly nice for what it was. I just don't think there's a lot that's really determinant about these, and I think they're really just kind of taking direction more or less. Because, like I said before, I'm not going to go through it all, but they're all the way in space. All the relative hours are pretty far away. Nasdaq's closest relevant hour, which I think is the 4. I don't think a 2 or a 1 are even close. The 1's kind of close here, but this meets right where the 4 is right now, which is also kind of an issue, and it's coming down aggressively. So it's possible we could always come back up and fill this area, come back up to here, but it's got to do its stuff, and we got to get something over 11,415 before it can even do that. And then this is just resistance. So if it can pop back up, it's like okay what it did here, no real complete buy signal. And then we get this nice bounce, kind of range here, turn around. This is FOMC day, so I don't want to throw too much into this saying, oh, we came up here. And might be why we shot down, because that was FOMC stuff. It was just it was pretty wild. So yeah, we kind of went over that and just why it looks a little bit sketchy. If we start up here, I think that looks good. Start here, it looks good. Start here, it looks bad. If we start somewhere in this range, I think it looks okay if it can push through the week 200. So we'll see how that week 200 is not the week. It's the week 500. Okay, it's definitely not the week 200. The week 500. then I think that would be okay. So good, good, best, the best probably arguably, especially if it can fight up here. Probably the best. A little weak because this could push up from a daytime frame, but I would like to see it come back down here and then before it pushes up if we did. But this is strong. This is really weak. Strong bullish, bearish. This in this area right here, like I said before, I still think this is fairly bullish just because we have this. It's essentially what the main thing about it is we're still maintaining more or less above a lot of this bulk, and we can try to push back up to hit this area possibly. Otherwise, it just looks really bad in these larger time frames, and especially on the 2 hours. So if we kind of look at this in a sense, it makes a lot more sense when we're looking at it. Where in this area, it's still okay because it's still somewhat up here and it can push up. I could see it as a possibility. But really coming back under this or starting under this area makes it look really sketchy. I think even if it starts down here, it could come back up. It just seems like it's gonna have a lot of trouble getting back up 150.75, and I think we trend down to 146 from there. So we'll have to see. There's a couple different possibilities that we could go through, and it kind of is what it is. Also, if ever the market goes down, this goes down too. So there really wasn't a huge surprise from this, even when we see that the day started under, which is upsetting. I think the week starts under too, technically if the day starts under. So this was kind of my big concern with a lot of this stuff and how we're coming down into it. But I don't know if this was really avoided. And so the same thing, this is why I was saying I think it's better to take a position here because that assumes we come up here and most likely we'll have something like this. So we'll kind of pick up on the way as opposed to getting in here. Otherwise, this is the place to take it or somewhere here when it turns right back around. But if we get some bullishness in the market, this might be fine too. I somewhat doubt that a lot more than before, but we could come back up on the week depending how far, or the month depending on how far we push down for a lot of this stuff. Um, so that kind of is what it is. The dollar's still roaring. It's in the sky, so it kind of, just it's doing what it's doing. Um, I don't know if I want to go into any of these. That looks sketchy. How is this up? That looks, oh, this is the month time frame. Okay. I mean, it's barely holding. I guess where Bitcoin was pretty decent yesterday, so that makes a decent amount of sense for some of these. And I guess I'll just kind of quickly go over some of the ones that I've checked before. So we'll just check Doge. Yeah, I mean, it still looks ugly. We can see it pushed on the 2 hour with some twos, and then we didn't have a single 4 hour start above. So no surprise after such a nice bounce, this happens. We finally get our start under, come up to test, reject, make our way back down. So there is support under. It's not like the worst thing in the world. We got the 12 here and the 4. But yeah, I mean, it's just kind of all the way up here. And same thing for here on the day time frame. No huge surprise. We didn't start above, had a high wick. That would have made this compromising even if it did start here, but we started under. So at best, you can kind of hope it either starts another day up here or that at least comes back to test. So you can, I guess, get out for no loss or whatever. There's no buy signal here though, because we didn't start the day above. So it kind of is what it is. Um, Ripple, I think it's the same kind of hodgepodge, same kind of stuff. So we have our 12-hour start under. We're trying to push. If it can start the day above here, maybe it can get a little bit of strength up. Just looking at this, does not look good. From the week time frame that we wanted to see this start above, started down here, pushed up a little bit close to it. It's not going to be able to start another week up here until another 6 days. So if that's kind of the signal for the buy, then it just doesn't really look that amazing. And then we look at Ripple to Bitcoin. I think we had a similar thing or something like that. Or, oh, what it was a fib level. And this is just a similar stuff with it. I don't want to get, we can just go here and I guess check it real, what? Okay, there we go. And then we can just check it here real quick, right? So we come all the way up here. We don't really get anything nice here. And then we saw Ripple to the dollar also look sketch. So it's just one of those things. Maybe we go for this range if we can get a week or a day or like anything, but we can just see the weakness of this and kind of derive it also from uh, the Ripple to the dollar. So that's pretty much it. There's probably something else I can go over, but I think that pretty much is the bulk of it. I feel like I was looking at something else the other day too. Oh no, that was Ethereum. I was looking at Ethereum to Bitcoin. I could take a look at that real quick, kind of see what that's been doing. It still seems pretty indeterminate. I really don't like this place. It seems, for where it is, it seems like we're just going to keep trending down. A day start under 6.8. I don't know if we drop that quick on the day, but I would be quite concerned about a day start. The day starting at or under, slightly under 0.06 8363. So, all right, take care, y'all. Have a great day, and see you tomorrow.